Welcome to the Princess Power Hour, where we show you how to go from pauper to powerful by transforming your health, your wealth, and your relationships. Here's the princess of podcasting herself, Natalie Thomas.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I am really excited about the show. I have been trying to get Mavis on the show for, I would say, months.
Yes.
And it's very nice. I'm going to tell you all about her in just a second. It's going to be really good. I promise. You're going to like this, okay? But first, I'm going to tell you, because this is a tradition around here, about my amazing lip color of the day. And Mavis, have a look at this. This is called Sheer Berry Diamond. It is one of my favorite colors, but it's what it can do that is the magic. Because folks, if we haven't told you yet, we are going to be talking about enjoying sex with your husband. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, really enjoying sex. I mean, like, chasing him around the bed for it and all this kind of stuff. Okay. So, but when you do that, you kiss a lot. But check this out. I have kiss proof, smudge proof lipstick, girl.
All right.
Is that like the coolest ever? This stuff will last 4 to 18 hours.
Ooh.
And you can get it over at lipstickkissesandlove.com. While you're there, you need to pick out a gloss. We have a bunch of them. This is my glossy gloss. This is my opal gloss. Today I'm wearing pink glitter gloss with my Sheer Berry Diamond. And you put on 3 very light coats of the lipstick, let it dry just a teeny bit in between, and you seal it with this gloss. Now you can reuse the gloss during the day, especially if you've been rubbing it to demonstrate that the lipstick doesn't come off, but you're not going to need to reapply the lipstick. And that is fabulous. It makes it last longer than other lipsticks. And so let's segue into our show. So we have Mavis McKnight. We're going to be talking about enjoying sex with your husband. Now, Mavis, we talk a ton on this show about business. And a lot of my followers, like you and I, have been women that have gone through a divorce, we've got to figure out what to do with our lives. And so I teach a lot about business. I encourage about that. But what I have found is that if we are thinking about going into business, or we are going into business, or we're entrepreneurs, we either neglect our health or our relationships, or both.
Yes.
So I want to teach balance. And that's why today we're going to be talking about sex, which is one of my very, very favorite subjects in the whole wide world. And so let me tell you about Mavis. She is a marriage and intimacy coach and the CEO of Intimate Connections. She educates women on sexual awareness and coaches them into healthy, satisfying, sexual, and romantic relationships. The women she educates are empowered to go back into the bedroom and able to develop conversations with their husbands so that they can both be fulfilled by this God-given gift, and they can both have a happy ending. She inspires Christian wives to embrace their sexuality, learn to be creative, and bring more fun and excitement to their intimate lives. She's conducted numerous workshops, seminars, marriage classes, and Bible studies for over 11 years, provided counseling and coaching in marriage and relationships for over 10 years, earned a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in human services, and is currently completing her certification as a clinical sexologist and sex coach. So she's a certified life coach and a published author. So Mavis, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I have been following your married girlfriend stuff for a while, and I'm just a little pink over the moon to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Natalie. And I am so delighted, so honored to be here talking to you finally after, like you said, months and months of trying to get together.
Like, please make time for me. Yes. I had to beg her, but it worked.
That's right.
All right. And speaking of begging, okay, we're going to be talking about sex. You know, we've got, traditionally it's the men that sometimes kind of have to beg, and they kind of give up on that sometimes, but they're not happy about it, right? And then in most of my previous marriages, I liked sex way better than the men did. Now, it turned out that they smoked pot secretly, and I have found out that can have a real decline in interest. I didn't even know they were doing it, more or less did I know that. I've never smoked marijuana in my life, so I didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
But yeah, let's talk about sex. How did you get into this area? of expertise.
Oh my goodness. You know what? This story, it still amazes me to today. Because I'm a believer, I like to, of course, I'm searching God to find out, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? And he kept saying surrender. So I said, okay, let me surrender my will to you. And I'm just going to listen to you, listen to what you direct me to do. So I'm driving down Crenshaw Boulevard. And so I hear the Spirit say, turn right here. So I turn right and I'm going down the street a little bit. And I hear the Spirit say, turn left here. So I turn left. And then I'm driving down the street a little bit more. And I hear the Spirit say, pull over right here. So I pull over to the curb and I find myself sitting in front of the Word of Life bookstore. So I'm like, okay, why am I at the Word of Life bookstore? So I said, okay, let me be obedient. Let me go inside. So I go inside and, my husband had given me the women's ministry. So I know I counsel, give advice and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you there. Is your husband a minister? Because we don't know this.
He's a pastor.
Okay, and your dad's a pastor.
Yes.
Yay, okay.
So grew up with a pastor and now married to a pastor.
All right, girl. I just want to check here because I figured a lot of people wouldn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yes, my husband's a pastor. So anyway, so I go into the store and I'm like, okay, I know I need to get something that has to do with women's counseling or something. So I'm looking around the bookstore and I'm in the area where it's counseling and scriptures for women and prayers, and I'm picking up books and nothing is really speaking to me. So I'm like, okay, but I'm supposed to get something. So I'm headed to the counter with these books on counseling and prayer, and there's a shelf right there that's like cat-a-corner or directly in front of the cash register, and there's this one book sitting on the shelf just all by itself. And God it urges me to pick the book up. So I picked the book up, and the title of the book was Intimate Issues, 21 Questions Christian Women Ask About Sex. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I opened the book, I start thumbing through it, and I'm reading some of the commentary, and I'm reading some of one of the ladies' journey that they have documented in the book. And I'm really intrigued and really interested in this book. And so I look in the front of the book to see what the date that the book was written. Now this was in March of 2010 when this happened. Mm-hmm. So I look at the date on the book and it's 1999. I said, this book was written forever ago, but I was really, really interested in it and so intrigued, and I felt compelled to buy it. So I bought the book, put the other books back, and in 3 days, I was almost done with the book. So I would go on my lunchtime, I would read the book in the park, and it was one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. So I'm coming back from lunch, walking up the back walkway, getting ready to go into the back door, and the Lord drops into my spirit, this is what I want you to do. I want you to teach married Christian women how to enjoy sex with their husbands. It's what I created you to do. And I was just blown away. So from that point on, of course, I've been like, God, what do you want me to do? And he told me directly exactly what he wanted me to do. Yeah. So from that point on, that was in March of 2010, I got started on trying to write programs, trying to just have seminars and classes. And so that's what I've been doing from that point on to this point. And the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will come is so, so true, because the way that I got into the sex coaching and clinical sexologist certification is, it was like I got to the point where, okay, God, I'm ready for the next step. Mm-hmm. And he connected me, because God orchestrates stuff. People might not believe that, but God orchestrates things in our lives. And
Amen.
Yes, he orchestrated it to where I would be connected with Dr. Patty Britton, who her and her husband developed a university where they teach sex coaching and where they teach clinical sexology. And I connected with her. It was so crazy how I connected with her, and I talked to her. She told me about the school, and I felt so in alignment with this school and with this topic, and that this was the next thing that I was supposed to do, that I signed up for the sex coaching certification. And so this is what I've been doing this was my next step. And this is what I've been doing for the past year, studying and for my in clinical sexology and for my sex coaching certification.
Well, let me share with you and my audience one of my secret passions. Okay, I have wanted probably for 4 or 5 years now to teach on sex, and I knew that I was going to do it, but I wasn't married, and I felt not being married, it wasn't the appropriate time for me to be teaching about that. And I specifically wanted to go into the churches and teach. And amazingly enough, I am very blessed to be married to a sex god. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Mind-blowing sex god. Okay.
Yes.
And I knew, because he and I started talking about sex before we had it, which is not an unnatural thing to do. And I could just see us going in and him teaching the men and me teaching the women. And I literally started talking to my pastor and his wife about that, you know, before he and I were ever married. Now, he goes back and forth. He gets excited about it. And he's like, no, the men won't come, you know, and then he'll start plotting it out in his head, and then he'll kind of back off. And, you know, we've had so many changes this last year. It's not the right time for us. But what really led me to that was being thrown back into the dating world at age 50 and out there talking to men, and men telling me their experiences of they left their marriages because their wives were not having sex with them.
Yes.
And, you know, I know that God hates divorce. I'm not saying that to judge anyone that's had one. I've been divorced twice, and Mavis has been divorced twice. Now, in both of my cases, my husband's had affairs and left me. But I don't know your story, but God is a redeemer.
Yes,
he's
he
a
is.
forgiver, and he's a lover, and he wants us to have a good, amazing, blessed life.
Yes.
And he created sex.
Yes, he did.
You know,
our enjoyment.
Now let me tell you a story here. My grandmother, who was married nearly 50 years to my grandfather, and who was married before him for a while, and long enough to have 3 kids, she told me that she never saw her husband's penis.
Wow.
Okay, now I heard that. Now, there wasn't much I could say. I kept my mouth shut, but I'm thinking, well, that leaves out a lot of fun things.
Yes. a lot of fun things.
And I'm thinking, wow, she really like missed out. But I was just pretty speechless at that. Yeah. And there is a culture within the church and some without that, you know, sex is dirty.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And who made sex? God made sex. He gave it to us.
Sure did.
Okay. Now I'm going to tell everybody right here, and I don't know what Mavis's beliefs are. I believe in sex within marriage. Okay.
Yes, me too. Absolutely.
Before I met my husband, I had not had sex in 5 years. Okay. And I had dated, before I married him, I dated a total of 30 men. And there's not one of those guys that can say that they had sex with me. Okay. I really believe that a relationship needs to develop before you get into that sexual side of it. And people have different beliefs. I'm not here to judge anybody or force my beliefs on anybody, but I can say that I am blessed with a very amazing, wonderful husband and sex life. And he was patient, and he respected, and he honored me. And that was part of what made me fall for him. So,
well, can I share with you one of the things that made me fall for my husband?
Sure.
Because he was the one that said, I don't want us to have sex before we get married. And that just shot my respect for him through the roof, because most men, they want to go ahead and have sex with you, and they don't want to honor your request. But he was the one. And me and my girlfriend, we used to talk all the time about, you know, there's no way I'm going to marry nobody without having sex with them first, and blah, blah, blah. And so when
I've heard so many people tell me that, I'm like, well, good luck with that. It's not happening with me.
Exactly. So when he said that, it was like, that was really my desire, but I didn't even know it until he said it. And that just made me have so much more respect for him. And he truly had me at that point. Let me just tell you that. And then, you know, God honored that. He honored our marriage. And just like you and your husband have an amazing sex life, we have an amazing, amazing sex life. And I've always enjoyed sex and always loved it. But to have sex, have a great sex life with your husband and someone that you love and that you're committed to, and that you're in it for the long haul with, and they understand you, they accept you, and they go along with your whims and are very accommodating. To me, that's the best thing, that a woman could have, a husband like that.
Well, my grandmother said something else that was interesting to me, because before my husband, there was a man that I really thought I was in love with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you like dancing. I read that in your material.
Yes.
I love dancing.
Oh my God, Natalie.
I met this gentleman out on my first night of dancing, and I did not know at the time that he was the best dancer there.
Mm.
And I also didn't realize that he was a player that kind of got first pick of all the girls that showed up.
Mm.
And I fell for him, but God really protected me. I mean, that man, I dated him for about 6 weeks before I even kissed him. And I told him, you ask my pastor if you can date me, and then I'll kiss you. And he did. And within 10 days of me kissing him, that man broke up with me 10 times.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
His record was 3 times in a day.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
But at one point, he starts kind of talking about sex, and we weren't having sex, and he was clear on that, but he's just talking about it. He was real idealistic, rose petals and music,
Lord.
and you come at the peak of the music, and which sounds like a lot of work to me. Okay. But I'm kind of talking it over with my grandmother, and she says, well, Natalie, everybody that talks about heaven ain't a going there. And I have laughed and laughed and laughed over that.
Goodness.
And in hindsight, over that guy, he's now dated. He called me the other day about 5 other women since me. And, he'll get the women wanting to marry him, but there's something really wrong with him, and God bless him. He needs help, and hopefully he'll get it. I still considered him a friend, but he's a broken person.
Yes.
And God really, really spared me in that relationship, so, but yep, even if somebody talks about sex and they say it's going to be the greatest thing in the world, everybody talks about heaven ain't necessarily going there.
You know what? See, and I had an experience like that, and it was super disappointing, because they can sell the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like your grandmother said, they sell the heaven, but everybody's not going. And, people can talk a good game, and talking is really not the thing. It's really the doing.
Yes.
Once you your marriage with your husband. So I think it's important for women to not fall for the game, or not fall for the selling of the dream.
Yes. Yeah. I'm writing that down, because that is so good. When you're out there dating, and I was so shocked when I got back into the dating world at 50, and men were wanting inappropriate pictures of me before we'd gone on a date. They were sending me inappropriate pictures. That gentleman I just talked about, he one time texted me a picture of his penis. And I didn't even respond, because I didn't want to shame him or embarrass him, but I was not interested in anything like that. Mm-hmm. And he said something about it later, and I said, well, it made me uncomfortable. And he said, I'm so sorry. Let me take you to dinner and make it up to you. I would never want to make you uncomfortable. We had the nicest dinner. And do you know what that fool did the next day? He sent me another picture of his penis.
Oh my God.
He did not learn, right?
Oh my goodness.
My sweet, precious husband never said a word about his. Never bragged on it, tried to brag on it. Now my husband's 5'1".
Okay.
So what do you think my worry might have been?
I already know.
Okay. Well, everybody out there know. All right. My previous husband was a bodybuilder. Okay. Oh, wow. And he warned me before we got married that everything didn't measure up exactly the same as.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And Lord God, he did not under-exaggerate. Yeah. So anyway. That was not a good sexual relationship for many, many, many reasons, and we might share some of that as we go on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my sweet husband, he told me about a woman that he dated that when she came over, she always wanted to go to bed. Now, I can be a little dense. I swear I thought she was tired. I didn't realize she was coming over for sex. I thought she was like crashing his house or something, And my husband would make remarks about, well, yeah, I wear my shirt out just so people can't see anything or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That man is packing. I had no idea. So really good things can come in small packages, folks.
Uh-huh.
Don't fall for any of that size of the thumb, size of the feet stuff.
See, no, not at all. That has nothing to do with nothing.
Mm-mm.
And what do they say? It's not it's not what you got, but it's how you use it.
And I firmly believe that too. I think if you use it properly and care about satisfying the woman, it doesn't really matter what size it is. That's my opinion. I haven't had a ton of experience, but what do you think?
Well, I think to a degree it does matter, because if the guy, is what you said, if the guy doesn't really have any sex skills or techniques or anything, then it's going to be just something that's really pretty disappointing. And men kind of have this ego thing going on where they kind of don't want to listen to people, and people can't tell them anything. So sometimes you want to share with your guy, your husband, some things that you might like him to do or want him to do, or some skills that he might need to brush up on, and he might not listen to you. So but I have, going back to what you were sharing about the experience, I have had that experience before with a guy who was like baby finger tiny and did not really know what to do with it. So to a degree, if you know what to do with it and you have some size, yes.
Well, and I'm a firm believer that we have fingers, we have tongues, we have ways to satisfy each other if we care about satisfying each other.
Absolutely.
Now, my ex-husband, I remember when we first got married, I was quite shy. I wasn't comfortable talking with him. And I had done some research of all these things that I thought, would be interesting for us. And I was so uncomfortable talking about it. I forwarded the email to myself for 9 months. And this is a sad story, folks. It's a sad story. When I got up the nerve to finally share with him some adjustments I thought we could make to make things a little more fulfilling, he tore it up without reading it. And of course that really hurt my heart. And I won't go into all the gross details of our sex life, but he pretty much would tell me, well, you have hands, take care of yourself, and that's not a loving, fulfilling relationship in any way, shape, or form. So you do have to have somebody that's willing to take a few steps to try to finesse and explore it. How do we do that? When you're talking with these women, but maybe they've been married for quite a while and maybe their husband's not used to this woman suddenly making a shift, what's the reaction that you get?
Well, it's kind of like what you were sharing. A lot of women are scared to do it and can't get up the nerve to do it. But what I suggest or share with the women that they can do is sometimes you have to talk about things inside the bedroom, and sometimes you have to talk about things outside the bedroom.
Good point.
So when if you're talking about your husband's skills and you want him to kind of brush up on them or get some new skills, you can take him somewhere away from home, away from the bedroom, take him to the park or on a drive or something like that, and then bring up the conversation, but bring it up by saying first the things that you love about him and the things that you love that he does for you.
That's brilliant.
And preface it with that, and then maybe share something like, I learned something about this technique that I want to try or want you to try or something like that, and introduce it to him in that way. And that's pretty non-threatening for the guy. So that's what I've learned over the years. So that's something that women can do outside of the bedroom.
Oh, that's powerful. That really, especially starting with the things that you like. That way their ego is, it's a little finessed before you get into the other part. One of the things I love about my husband, he'll come home and he'll I was at lunch and there were 4 women at the other table and they were talking about sex. And so I was listening to learn. Before we got married, he was telling me about how he had learned some things from some videos. So I'm thinking, oh, great, porn. No, I'm not interested in the guy that's involved in porn, right? And so he winds up showing me. I was so proud of this man. It's this little Mexican woman, and she's got charts, and she's pointing at me.
Oh, how sweet. How adorable.
Precious.
How adorable.
I really thought that was wonderful. That he sincerely cared, but he wasn't, guys, if you learn from porn, you learned it wrong.
You
gotta
learned
go
it
back
wrong.
to the drawing board. We don't want porn. We don't need, our high heels up in the air and somebody screaming, okay? And hopefully you don't need that because it's not real life, right?
Not at all. Not at all. But unfortunately, the majority of men, that's where they get their sex ed from.
I know. It's sad, isn't it? We need to break that, girl.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Because it's a lie.
It's
a
is.
lie.
It's pretend, and it's geared to arouse. That's what it's for. It's geared to arouse you, not to teach you anything. Mm-hmm. So, and people need to understand the difference. So, yeah. So, and then what I want to share too was, as far as talking to your guys inside the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like right in the throes, everything, of course, you can't say, even if you're right in the throes. But if you're in the throes, of your sexual encounter, I'll say, and just take, for instance, your guy is, or your husband is, being a little rough with you, or he's, I don't know, maybe I'll just say being a little rough with you. We'll just stick with that one.
Mm-hmm.
You can just simply say a little softer. Very, very simple, very non-threatening, very caring, very loving, just a little softer. Or you can, you can move his hand where you want his hand. You can cover his hand with your hand, to either stop him from doing a certain thing. So inside the bedroom, that's some of the things that you can do when you're not feeling what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, and it works.
So do you find that these women that you're coaching, is there like a percentage of the time that men are receptive and a percentage of the time that they're not, or does it just change everybody over the moon, or what's the...
It really depends. I think it just depends on the relationship. It depends on the guy. It depends on the communication that the couple has, because one of the main things that we always talk about is communication. But we learn how to communicate about finances, about the kids, about work and everything else, but we don't have that ability to communicate about sexual things, and that should be part of your communication repertoire. So people have to understand that communication is the absolute key. And even if we're scared or nervous to bring up a subject, we have to use the courage that God has placed in us to push forward and just step into it and just do it anyway. And we just have to do it and see what may happen. Because if we don't do anything, well, nothing will ever happen.
Well, and girls, you have to understand, if we are not having sex, we are not in a healthy relationship. Okay. And there are times that, he's injured his back and things like that. There are seasons that there are reasons to not have sex, but you want to get past those seasons and back into that relationship as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
Because even if it seems like he's okay without it, tell us, Mavis, is he okay without it?
Oh my God, no. And neither are we.
I like that point. Now, I had a friend call me up, and this woman, she's probably in her 40s now, beautiful woman. I thought she was in a very happy marriage. And she called me up and she said, Natalie, if I never had to have sex again, I would be happy. And we spent about 30 minutes. And I said, were you molested? And she said, no. And do you know, within a few minutes, she remembered that she had blocked that memory. She really realized that she had been taught that sex was dirty, and we talked, we prayed, we broke some things off of her, and she called me back to tell me that her husband was enjoying life. And I got the impression, I don't remember that she specifically said this, but I think he was getting close to being done with the marriage if things had not changed.
Wow.
So, and I may not have that 100% correct, but I think behind the scenes that can be going on, girls. So it's such an important part for them. Now, let's say this guy's getting a little bit older. Is he still wanting sex, Mavis?
Oh my God. Yes. You know what? My hubby is 59. We're going to be 60 this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it is still something that is on his mind. Thank God. But the getting older part does make a difference, because sometimes, as men age, they do start to lose their desires. They start to lose their erections. These, medications. Most of us have some kind of medical issue, as we age, that we have to take medicine for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, things like diabetes and high blood pressure, those medications, they decrease the man's sexual desire.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes, the wife doesn't realize that could be one of the things that's happening with her husband, why he might not be, desiring sex anymore. So, ladies, don't take it personally. Just remember, as men age, they do think about other things other than sex. And there are other things, illness, medication, that will, cause them to lose their desire or not want to have sex as much with you. Now, one other thing I want to say about that is a lot of people put sex in a box, and they have this really confined and limited idea about it. So a lot of people think that sex is only about sexual intercourse, but sex is so much more expanded than just sexual intercourse, which is what you have to come to grips with as you get a little bit older, because your guy might not be able to have an erection, but there are a lot of other ways that you can please each other. And sex also starts before you actually get into the bedroom. It starts, earlier that day. You guys can even make a plan or a date in the morning, because that's what I always do with my hubby. I always say, "Can I have a date tonight?" So I'm thinking about it all day. I'll text him, a few things during the day to just kind of rouse him up and keep him, reminded that, hey, we got a date tonight. So that's how it starts. And then, as the day goes on, then you start getting your mindset. As you get closer to your date, you start shifting your mindset and try to get your mindset into the right place to, so you can go from this, this slayer to this tigress or vixen or whatever you want to call yourself. So, and if you do that, then once you get into the experience with your husband, you guys can take flight for real. And you can make it as wild and as crazy and as fun as you want to.
That is awesome. Well, we're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to be right back with Mavis McKnight talking about enjoying sex with your husband. I love lipstick. I think it's one of the most wonderful things about being a woman, except when you get it all over your teeth and your drinking glasses and your man. And I am so excited to tell you about a new product today that I found. And I'm so excited that I became a distributor, because 8.5 hours ago, I put on this lipstick. I put on 3 coats of this one and a coat of this one. And I've put a couple other coats of this throughout the day, but no more of this. I've had breakfast, I've had lunch, and I've had a snack. And like I said, it was 8.5 hours ago. And have a look at this. Not a smear, not a smudge. It still looks fabulous. And I want to make this available to all of my listeners. This particular color is called Berry Rose, and I use it with a glossy gloss. And the opening set comes with a remover, so that if you make any kind of a little mistake there, that you can take that off. And with shipping and tax, it's $60 for your starting kit. And you can just email me at nedaleeaol.com what color you want after you've checked on our Princess Power website. And you can send your money through PayPal to that email. Tell me your address, your name, and what color you want, and send $60, and we'll get that right out to you. So have a look at our princesspower.com website under our products. We're going to have that listed shortly. And look there, I could kiss my husband all day long and still look fabulous, and so can you. Right, everybody. Thank you. Isn't this a great show? I told you it would be. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and probably talk a little bit more. My husband's like, would you quit talking about me? But he doesn't want to talk about his penis, which I do all the time because I love it and I'm so proud of it. But the other part that I'm so in awe of, and there's so many, is my husband's a professional jockey. Mm-hmm. So to ride a horse in a race, they sit in a squat, a standing squat. Mm-hmm. Well, girls, that makes a really fine backside. And I'm like thinking of taking up sculpting again. So I could just sculpt that thing because it is so beautiful. But I think that it's important to find something that we can make our men feel good about themselves. Now, he may have the pot belly, or, we aren't perfect and we all get older. Mm-hmm. But flirting with him, don't you agree? You have a whole program on the married girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
And I told my husband the other day, I'm looking at a picture on my phone, and I said, look at that man. And he says, who is that? I said, that's my boyfriend. And he says, he's a lucky man. And I said, I'm a lucky woman.
Oh my goodness, how cute. Oh my goodness.
They just flirt. We flirt all the time. That man just melts me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But he just came back from being gone for 2.5 months. Ooh. And we were apart for 9 weeks last year. So out of the last 6 months, we've only been together 2 out of 6 months. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking with each other, when we were apart, he wanted to talk, business and practical things. Mm-hmm. And you kind of forget about that tender side. And
yes.
that was a little hard for me. I don't like that. Tell me you miss me. Tell me, and he would. He'd say, I miss you. And he'd say, I love you. But that wasn't the focus. Mm-hmm. And, give me a little more connection here, mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about being the married girlfriend. Let's talk about getting connection.
Okay. So let me just share this cute little story about how the married girlfriend came about. So one night, my husband and I, we were on a date. It was one Friday night, and we were at the Long Beach Pier, and we were just waiting to go on a little tour of the harbor. So that same night, Xerox, they were having their Christmas party, so there were a lot of people out there. So while we're waiting, my hubby starts people watching. So he's looking at the couples, and he's like, okay, I'm trying to determine who's new to the relationship, who's been married a long time, and who's on their first date. So in essence, he's trying to see who's acting like a wife and who's acting like a girlfriend. Mm. Yeah, so over the years, he's mentioned to me a few times, he said, I like it when you act like my girlfriend more than when you act like my wife. So I said, okay. So I thought about it for a minute. So the married girlfriend came to me. So I said, okay, so men don't like change. They like for you to do what you did before, you got into the marriage. So the married girlfriend concept is basically that, to continue what you were doing with and for your husband before, like when you were in girlfriend status, and before he popped the big question, and before you said I do. So, a lot of women, they get married, they get comfortable, and, they start.
Girl, we get bossy.
Doing the things. Get bossy, trying to control your husband, because my hubby says all the time, you're not the boss of me. He says, I could try to control him. And I'm like, no, we just love you guys. That's why, we just looking out for you, for your best interest and everything. So, yeah, see, and that's that wife thing that they don't like. So, unfortunately, a lot of women stopped doing the stuff that they did when they were in girlfriend status, and the marriage kind of starts going downhill, and they start wondering why. So that's pretty much the reason. So, the married girlfriend concept is just a fun and novel way for you to keep your marriage interesting and exciting. That's what it's all about.
One of the things when we go into wife mood and when we're trying to control, it makes them feel like they can't satisfy us. And men do not stay in relationships where they do not feel successful. Okay. Right. And I have learned that my husband was 45 years old before he ever got married, never had kids. Mm-hmm. He was an adult. He survived. He didn't kill anybody. He's lived in, two different countries besides where he was born. He's not stupid. Now, English is a second language for him, so he can come off not quite as smart sometimes, but, if people don't factor that in, that English is a second language.
Right.
But men are going to do things differently than we do.
Yes.
And they might put on the diaper different or whatever it is. And sometimes we just got to sit back and let him do it and shut up. Now, he just, oh my gosh, I was so irritated with this one. He just came back from Mexico, but he was absolutely convinced he had to go through LA, which made the ticket way more. And he had an 11-hour layover, and it made, a 24-hour trip for him and all this stuff. I think it cost like $1,100 when it would have cost $319 to come direct in 6 hours. And I would have spent the $319 and, I would have spent the $319 after he already spent the other $500 on the ticket because he had to turn around and spend $575 on another ticket. But, okay, I don't have to kill him. It's okay.
Breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, in the end, he did what he was going to do no matter what I thought. But, right, is the world going to come crashing down,
Right. Right.
Is it worth a fight?
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of money, but
Yeah. Yes, you kind of have to look at the big picture. Yes. And you have to pick and choose your battles. You really do.
Yes,
some seem like battles that you really, really need to pick and, fight for. Not all of them are. So you have to take some time to really look at it and ask those questions you just asked. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth having a fight over? Because most of the time it's not. Because the next few days or whatever, everything is going to be fine, or something else is going to come up. Something.
Because he and I have such a playful relationship and we laugh a lot. And I've never been able to have this in a relationship ever. And it's such a joy and it's such a privilege. But I can say, I'm really mad at you or I'm really frustrated at you. But if I say it in a playful way, I'm speaking truth, but I'm giving him room to kind of be able to finesse it rather than challenging him. I'm angry at you and we're going to have a fight about it.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful because that's what we have to do. We really have to, and this is one of the tips too, that I like to share is to soften our tone when we're sharing things with them.
Ooh, yes.
Let it drip with love and kindness. So we gotta access our heart and let that love and kindness come into it before we speak certain things to them or talk about certain subjects.
That is so good. I'm writing that down with loving kindness. Ooh.
Yes.
That is perfect. And that's right. And I've even had my son say that because I tend to be a very assertive woman. And, and I know Black women are kind of known for that too. We know what we want and we're going to stand up and get it. And one Christian woman told me I had the bulldozer anointing. I don't know that that's a good thing, but I see a vision and it's like, sure.
Oh my God, bulldozer anointing, huh? Okay. That's a new one on me.
Well, girl, I decided that moving to Kentucky from California was a good idea. And I decided that about 2 weeks after we got married and moved here within 2 months of having the idea.
Oh, wow.
So, and I had to sell my house, get out of my lease, pack a 5,300 square foot office and warehouse and pack up my house and did almost all of that packing on my own, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And in the meantime, my poor husband is thinking he got hit by a truck and not sure what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I truly understand that mentality because I'm like the get her done son kind of.
There we go. That's what I see.
And I get
improvise, adapt, and overcome. Get it done.
Yes, get it done, son. Ooh. Yeah, so I understand. Trust me, I understand. And one of the other things about with this whole softening your tone thing. I was a single parent for quite some time. So, when you're a single parent, you take on a lot of masculine qualities.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, you got to be the director, you got to be the organizer, you got to be the commander and everything. So, doing that, that was just what I was used to. So
it's a huge turnoff for men.
Huge. Oh, so huge. Because I had to learn how to tone that down once we got married.
Oh, me
It's
too.
like, oh my God. It's like,
Mhm.
why are you using that tone with me? And I'm thinking, this is just the way I talk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I had to become really aware, of how, of my tone when I communicated with my husband. So and then, realize that what that did to him, don't like it. So yeah, that's a big issue, for like single women.
Yes.
Once they get married, we really have to not be conscious of not treating them like we treat the kids, because that's easy to do.
Yep, don't treat him like a kid. Oh, that is so
Hmm.
important.
Hmm.
Now, I know that you probably have some secret tip for folks. You want to give us anything?
Well, I actually do. Um, One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, are is using toys
Mm-hmm.
a sin?
Mm.
Now, I use eyeglasses as an example. Okay. So, okay, let's say, once we start getting a little bit older, our vision starts to decrease, it's
Mm-hmm.
not as sharp as it once
Mm-hmm.
was. So what do? We go to the doctor, we get our eyes checked, we get a prescription, and then we get glasses. And then we
Mm-hmm.
use the glasses to enhance our vision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the same way with sex. We get into our sexual relationships, it starts to get routine. It maybe gets a little boring, but what do? We can go to a romance store. We can, that can even be a date for you and your husband. Pick out a cute little toy that works for both of you, and you just use the toy to enhance your sexual experience. You've already got your sexual relationship going. All it does is enhances it, just like
There you
eyeglasses enhances your
go.
vision. Mm-hmm.
Well, I will say my first marriage was 22 years. And
Mm-hmm.
the counselor could never understand this. We both thought we had an amazing sex life, except for frequency. I always wanted
Mm-hmm.
more, he was like a camel, he'd have it 2 or 3 times and then he could go, 2 or 3 weeks or longer and he was happy as a clam. But even though I felt we had this great relationship, we managed to do it without ever having toys, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not saying either way.
Mm-hmm.
And my current husband, he was talking about some little toy, kind of asking me what I thought about it. And he'd seen it somewhere and he came home that it wouldn't take too long. I'd run it downstairs and bring it up here and show it to you. And we've only actually used it once.
Mm-hmm.
But I had somebody here doing some work and I'm like, yeah, I got to remember to move that thing.
Uh-huh.
But but I liked it that he was willing to do it. And it was something to vibrate for me in addition to, wow, you're, and I don't know, girl. I'm so happy. I mean, when I first had sex with that man, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I mean, I always say thank you, Jesus, over orgasms, but
oh, me too. I do too.
This man, he is absolutely like, it's a science, like you have to have multiple orgasms before he's happy. And he is absolutely not going to come before that. And sometimes I tell him, it's okay, baby, I don't need it right now. No, it's not fair. I'm gonna Oh, I am so blessed. And I realize that not everybody is. And
absolutely.
some people have been, certainly there have been people that have been molested in the past. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And girls, I want to talk to you about that for a minute. Okay. I've been molested as a kid. I've been raped. I've been physically abused by a husband. I've had all of those damaging things that you may have had, one or more of them. Mm-hmm. We can heal. We have to forgive other people. Okay. Mm-hmm. God tells us to forgive, and he tells us because of how it helps us. Okay. Yes. You got to think about that. You think, well, I'm not forgiving that person that, that the incest, whatever it is. Okay. It's horrible things. You're not telling them that they can come back in your life and do more of it just because you forgave them. All right. Right. But for you to be whole in a marriage relationship, you have to get healed from that stuff. Right. And you have to open up your heart to it. Now, I talk on here, Mavis, about God, but I try to let people know I'm not trying to shove God down anybody's throat. I'm a believer. Mavis is a believer. Mm-hmm. And it's not about religion. It's about having a relationship. You heard her talking in the beginning of this segment about the Holy Spirit leading her, telling her, go left, go right, go down here. that kind of a relationship with God is
Yes.
truly possible. And it starts with asking him into your heart,
Yes.
asking him to forgive you and to wash you and cleanse you. The reasons that we don't believe in sex outside of marriage is because it's biblical.
Right.
Okay, we're not saying we never did it that way. Okay, we're not perfect
we do
innocent
better.
girls here. Okay,
yes.
we're trying to do the right things, and sometimes we blow it too. We're all human. Okay.
Yes.
But when you give yourself to another person sexually, there is actually a spiritual transference, and there is now scientific information that sperm and stuff actually becomes embedded in the physiology of who you are.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wow.
So to protect yourself, okay, there's lots of cool things. Just praying and asking God to cleanse you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're not trying to shove religion down your throat, and it's not about religion, but we want you to know that relationship with God the Father and Jesus Christ is available.
Yes.
So didn't really plan on going there, but you guys need to know that. Okay. If you want to know more information, reach out to me, reach out to Mavis.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of that, Mavis, how will they reach out to you? Tell them about the coaching that you have, what kinds of people that you work with. And I know you've got a free gift for our girls as well. Tell us about that.
Yes, I do. Okay. Yeah. Well, I do work with Christian wives, and that is the specific audience God told me to work with. What I do when I coach the women, I do help them to, first of all, learn how to love and value themselves, because you really can't go any further until you learn how to do that. And I love what the Bible
says, love others as you love yourself.
Absolutely.
Starts
not
with you.
More. Not more.
Yes.
Because you can't love from a deficient place. So you have to start loving yourself. And once you do that, then you can move on into learning about your. I help the women to learn about their bodies, about their anatomy, about the whole sexual experience, and just help them to change their mindsets about sex, and take it from negative and stuff that we've been taught to positive. And that's really my whole goal, is to just change all of the negativity into the positive mindset, and understanding that this is a gift from God, and it's a beautiful gift, and it's nothing for you to be ashamed of, and nothing for you to be repelled by or disgusted by. So that's basically what my coaching entails for the women. Now, I do have a workshop that I put on. It's called Design Your Ideal Intimate Life in 8 Key Areas. So what I do is I take the concept of the life wheel and just focus on 8 areas that have to do with sex and sexuality, and all female sex and sexuality. So that program, or that workshop, is scheduled for St. Patrick's Day, as a matter of fact. March 17th. Nice. Yeah, and I do have some links for that. And then also the gift that I'm going to give to these beautiful women is called the Married Girlfriend. It's a PowerPoint presentation that I put together that tells you all about the married girlfriend, the concept of the married girlfriend, and then it gives you tips on how the things that you can do to be the best married girlfriend that you can be to your husband.
I love what I have. That. Yeah. Well, we're gonna ask you about your contact information, but I'm gonna throw something out here. What is your opinion on masturbation for women in terms of getting to know their bodies and how they orgasm and things like that?
Well, I am absolutely 1,000% in agreement with.
High five!
Yes,
girlfriend. I think so too. Yes. My husband will not masturbate, and more power to him. God bless him. It's probably from his Catholic upbringing. Mm-hmm. I know women who have divorced their husbands because of excessive masturbation and things like that. But this is, what we're talking about, something a little bit different. I don't see anything biblical against it in any way.
No, nothing biblical against it. And one of the things about marriage is the long term is about exploration. So you have to learn your own body so you can share that with your husband, what makes you feel good. If God didn't give us the ability to experience pleasure sexually, then why do we have all these urges? Why do we have certain feelings in our bodies? Why do we have pleasure in our bodies if it's something that God didn't want us to learn about and to experience and enjoy? So, like I said, I'm 1,000% in agreement that women should, and we call it self-play, self-pleasure, because some people don't like the word masturbation, which is fine. You know, everybody has their thing. But it's about getting to know yourself. And I even have a program where it's called, you know, just, you get to know yourself, you explore yourself, and you love yourself, pleasure yourself. So yeah, so that's 1,000%.
My brain just jumped to that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes, where there was a scene with them using mirrors to look at their vaginas.
Oh, wait a minute. But
I don't know why my brain just went there.
Because that's the next important thing. You have to know what you're looking at. You have to know what you have down there. You got to know. And that's one of the exercises that I give to my clients is the mirror exercise.
Really?
But yes.
Well, sometimes my husband's like, what's this part called? And I'm like, I don't know.
See? Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God. That is so funny. But yeah, the mirror exercise is so important because we need to know what our bodies are made of. We need to know.
I know that people are going to want to reach out to you about this. So tell us how they can find you.
They can go to my website at www.mavismcknight.com, and they can leave me a message on from the website on the contact page, or they can email me at askmavis@mavismcknight.com.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for
everybody
having me.
listening, I want to thank you as well. I am getting ready to go back downstairs and work on tiling my bathroom. That's one of the fun things I do when I'm not working is I do remodeling, and I've got like all kinds of weirdo things in my nails. And I threw on a nice shirt for you, okay? And I took my hair down in the bun. I was worried I was going to get mastic in my hair. But hey, thank you. And if you've gotten something out of this, and I know you have on this one, please share it and like it, make comments. All of those things help us in the algorithms. And we hope to see you again soon. God bless you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Princess Power Hour with Natalie Thomas. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit princesspower.com or on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter at ppprincesspower. Until next time, work smarter, not harder. Have a question for your host of Princess Power Hour, Natalie Thomas? Contact us at www.princesspower.com or tweet us at ppprincesspower.